And start. And start. Okay, I'm going to say good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you're joining us from, anywhere in the world. This is our first webinar for the 2025 cycle. And I thought, what better place to start than in Malta? Why? Because I, myself, and Marina from the Medical Doorway office had a fantastic visit to the Queen Mary University of London's campus in Malta, in Gozo, just a few weeks ago, actually. As you can see, the ladies at the bottom, Elaine and Chanel from the campus, are still wearing summer clothes. I'm not. We had a little bit of a joke about that before. But anyway, it was a fantastic visit, and I wanted to get everyone really to see what we saw in a kind of digital format, at least, about the fantastic opportunities you've got to study a British medical degree out in Malta. So we've got Elaine in the blue and Chanel in the black there from the admissions office, who are going to be here to present and also answer many of your questions. We'll go over some of those other housekeeping in a bit. And we're really excited to have Pearl, who's a second-year student at the campus in Malta, who can talk all about her experience as a student, and is obviously going to be the person who's going to get most questions from today. People are coming in. We have about 250 so people, or just over, that were booked in for today. More people are joining. The attendee list is ticking up and ticking up and ticking up. But I'll run over some housekeeping about how the session is going to run. So we are going to have a presentation from the team in Malta, and then there will be the chance to ask as many questions as you want. At the bottom of your screen, you will see our icon Q&A. That's where you're going to type your questions. Now, all questions that we are going to read out after the presentation are all going to be anonymized. So even if you've joined this and your name is registered, don't worry. Go ahead, ask any question you want. There is no such thing as a silly question, because I can guarantee if one or two of you are thinking about a particular question, that many other people on this webinar today, or watching the recording, or joining us on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, will have the same question, okay? And so any question you ask will be read out. That's so everyone else today can hear the question, but also for the recording, which is going to be on our YouTube channel. And I'm going to say, please go to Medical Doorway on YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell icon. That does really help us out, but it also means you'll get to know about different webinars that we release, as well as our different university visits that we do. But it will also mean they get the chance to hear your question and get the answer to those questions as well. So numbers are picking up and picking up and picking up, which is great to see. We've already submitted a significant number of applications this year to Malta, and we're hopeful after today we'll be submitting many more and helping many students get into the university for 2025 and really benefit from the fantastic facilities on offer, fantastic climate on offer, fantastic food on offer, the fantastic environment that one gets on the Maltese islands. And believe me, there's a lot to see across the island of Malta and the island of Gozo and the small islands in between. But without any further ado, as the numbers are continuing to go up, actually, I'm going to hand over now to Elaine and Chanel, who are going to give a presentation. And let's hear what they have to say about the fantastic opportunities available from Queen Mary University of London. So I'm going to mute myself during the presentation. If you want to type your questions in, please do, but we'll deal with every question at the end of the presentation. So enough of my voice. Let's hand over to the people that know. Elaine.
Thank you so much, Ben, for the wonderful introduction. So as you said yourself, today we'll be talking about the MBBS program at Queen Mary the University, but the campus in Malta. So we're gonna start. So I think many people, the first questions that we get asked a lot is, why Gozo and Malta? Why did Queen Mary decide to open an offshore campus in Gozo and Malta? For those who don't know about the history of Malta, Malta was a colony of the sort of an English colony for a long time. And so we're a Commonwealth country. And so we have that deep and historic link to the UK. which is reflected in many things. It's reflected in the healthcare system, in even in our languages. So we've got two languages. One is Maltese, which is sort of like a Semitic basis, but with Romantic languages thrown in. It's a whole mixture, but written in Latin script, not in Arabic script. But our second national language is English, and the majority of the population is bilingual and speak English fluently. There are also excellent communication links to like Britain, Europe, and the whole world. And as I've already mentioned, our healthcare system is very close to that of the NHS, and it's also an excellent healthcare system. It was ranked 5th in the world by WHO. And sort of the country's drive to upgrade its medical care system, it falls in line with what the university wants. And so they opened the campus in Gozo and Malta. I'm going to talk a bit about first the course and how it is structured, sort of what you would expect to learn over the 5 years if you join us here in Malta. It's so the program is identical to that taught in London. So it's so much the same that our students in Malta do the same assessments at the same time as the London students. And at the end, you get the same degree as the London students as well. And for those who don't know about the core curriculum of Queen Mary, it's identified by early in-depth clinical experience. In fact, our students start with GP placements and patient contact from year 1, right from the start. It's also identified by problem-based learning. And in problem-based learning, our cohort, which is already small, is divided into even smaller groups. So you're about 5 to 6 persons. And under the guidance of a tutor, you're given a scenario, which is tied to what you've learned that week, so to the curriculum. And there you discuss it, you research it, and then you present it to the whole group. So that works, that helps with teamwork, with research skills, with communication skills. And I'm sure as Per will tell you later, they find it very useful. They also start with practical sessions and dissection from year 1. So our students have the opportunity to do cadaveric dissection from year 1. They also have weekly practical sessions in clinical skills and communication skills, physiology, histology. So there's a lot of hands-on elements to the course. It's not just lectures. And they also have the opportunity to undertake an intercalated degree. So for those who don't know what an intercalated degree is, it's when you take a year off, usually it's done between year 3 and year 4 of the course, and you have the opportunity to do a bachelor's or a master's. And at the end, you graduate with both an MBBS and a BSc or an MSc, depending on what you've studied during the year. So the curriculum is what we call a spiral curriculum, as you can see from the green picture on the left. So you start from the generals and you're always moving to the specifics. And it's divided into 3 phases. Phase 1 is the first 2 years, years 1 and 2. And during the first 2 years, you're mostly on campus. It's mostly lecture based. And how the curriculum is taught, it's taught via a series of system-based modules. So let's say in year 1, you start with 9 weeks of fundamentals of medicine, and then you move to the other modules. And then in year 2, you revisit the same modules, but you're focusing on the systems and disease. So for example, in cardiorespiratory, in year 1, you're studying the heart, and then in year 2, you're studying about cardiac arrest and the diseases associated with the heart. I'm sure Per can tell you about it better than I do. And then medicine and society, it's when the students have placements. So as I said, in year 1, MedSoc is with GPs. And then in year 2, they do placements with allied health professionals. So you get a sense of the wider hospital team. It's not just nurses and doctors, but there are physiotherapists, there are nurses, there are nutritionists. So they do placements at GGH, the Gozo General Hospital, which, as Ben knows, is just across the road from our campus. And then they also go to a geriatric facility in Malta, St. Vincent de Paul, and there they're also working with the wider hospital team. And then also another component of the first 2 years is the SSC, student selected components. So for student selected components, it's sort of the chance for the students to shape their course. And you have 2 SSCs per year. Each SSC is 2 weeks long, and you get to choose from a long list of SSCs. So we have SSCs in diving medicine, we have SSCs in the maternity ward, and pharmacology and dissection. So you get to some students know sort of what they would like to specialize in, so they use the SSCs to sort of delve deeper into the areas. Other students maybe do not have such a clear idea of what they want to do at the end, and they use the SSCs to explore different areas and see if they like that or not. And during SSCs, we do have the opportunity to, there's an exchange program with London, so our students go to London to do the SSC there, and then the London students come here to do their SSCs, and they don't want to leave. So, yeah. And then moving on to phase 2, which is years 3 and 4. So whereas in years 1 and 2, you're mostly on campus and it's lecture-based, years 3 and 4, you're mostly on placements. Sort of you're practicing what you've learned during the first 2 years. And we have 4 teaching hospitals. So we have Gozo General Hospital in Gozo, and then there are 3 hospitals in Malta as well. And you'll also be doing community placements in the health centers around the islands. Obviously, you do return to the campus for further teaching and assessments. And as I said, it's sort of you're applying the skills that you were taught during phase 1. And then the last phase is year 5, which is the home stretch. You're almost ready to be a doctor. And during the last year, you're getting an idea of what it means to be an FY doctor. And you're getting a first-hand experience. What I have to say is that here we're a small cohort, so our students really get hands-on experience, because mostly they're like 2 students to a clinician, so they get to practice, they get to ask questions, they get to do stuff, not just observe. The core curriculum is always taking place in Malta, but during the SSCs, you get an option to either do it in Malta or you can go. We've had people go to London, we've had people go to their home country, we've had people go to Zambia, so it's up to you and your interests. So we've had 3 graduating cohorts so far. It's been 100% pass rate in all the 3 years. And at the end, you're getting a GMC recognized degree and the same degree, the MBBS degree from the Queen Mary University of London. I'm going to talk a bit about the facilities. So as I said, the campus is in the grounds of the Gozo General Hospital. It's situated in Victoria, which is the capital city of Gozo. And rather than talk about it, I'm going to show you a short video where our student Krish is sort of showing you around our campus.
Hello, my name is Krish Patel, a second-year medical student at Queen Mary University of London, Malta campus, and today I'll be giving you all a tour of the state-of-the-art facilities we have on campus. So the campus is in the grounds of Gozo General Hospital. Behind me is the Anatomy Centre. Just across the road is the Gozo General Hospital, where we have our placements from year 1, and I'm just now walking into the entrance of the university. At Queen Mary, Malta, we follow the same curriculum as London, which means that the degree at the end of the course is the same as our London colleagues as well. This is the lecture theatre where most of our teaching takes place. And what I really like most about it is the fact that our lectures are all recorded, which means that we can look back at them at a future date. This is the clinical skills suite, which is set up as a proper hospital ward. This is where we learn to perform different examinations, such as the abdominal or a cardiovascular examination, as well as where our OSCEs take place as well. We have a range of mannequins we can practice a variety of skills on, such as drawing blood, inserting a catheter, practicing CPR, as well as using an AED. This is one of the two PC labs where you can come and do your work. What's really good about the PC lab is you don't have to bring your laptop, and also the fact that there are a wide variety of online resources, such as Oracle, which is an online question bank, and virtual primary care, where you can look at a range of consultations. This is also where the end of year exams take place as well. This is a library where most of the students come to study, and we have a wide variety of books which we can use to help supplement our lecture content. So this is the canteen. Getting a morning cappuccino here is a must. This spot just outside the canteen is my favourite spot on campus to hang out with my friends. In 3 years' time, I hope to graduate from the Citadel just behind me, which is where the graduation ceremony takes place. This is our anatomy centre, where we have all of our anatomy practicals. What the anatomy practicals consist of is going through different stations, and what I really like is we have different models, we have different computers which we can use as well as having different pro sections out at the time of the practical. One of the most important things is the fact that we get to do cadaveric dissection from year one, which I think is very important, as it's a very new and very interesting experience for us, because the fact that we get to see a human body as well as dissect it, which is very important in giving us appreciation for the human body. This is one of our PBL classrooms. PBL stands for problem-based learning and is a fundamental part of the curriculum here. We are divided into 6 groups within the year, and we get given a new case every week. This is the SAPS office, which stands for Student Academic and Pastoral Support, which is where you can come to talk about personal or academic issues, as well as the team being a friendly face on campus. Just down the hall from the SAPS office is the SAPS Common Room, where they organise different activities such as board games, yoga, and one-off baking sessions as well. This is one of the 2 common rooms we have on campus, with the other being on the top floor where the canteen is. What I really like about this one is the fact that we can come and watch TV and sit on the sofas and relax, but just chill out on the beanbags or play some pool as well.
Sorry. So I hope you liked that video. And sort of gave you an clear idea of what the campus looks like here. Now I'm going to talk a bit about student life and what it means to not just study here, but obviously live here for the whole 5 years. So I've already said this, but we're quite a small campus. Currently, we have 296 students across the 5 years. And that means that the students here form a tight-knit student community, and you will not only get to know the students within your year, but also the students across the 5 years. It also means that there's an excellent student to teacher ratio. I'm sure Per will tell you it's an environment where the academics know every student by name, and it's an environment where the student office and the staff and SAPs know every student by name, and so you get to know them on a deeper level, sort of, instead of just being a face. And that means that there's more personalized support and close mentoring here, whether it be by the academics. So every year you get a head of year and a senior tutor, but you also get assigned a personal tutor as well. So apart from SAPS, which Krish talked about in the video, which is the student academic and pastoral support, there are also many levels of support available for our students. As a country, it's a very safe country, and it's we enjoy a low level of crime, and sort of we think that sort of with medicine being such a difficult and tough course, it balances out and sort of lets you focus on studying and what really matters. And then when it comes to cost of living, it's also much cheaper when you compare it to other major cities and the UK. So for example, if you're looking at renting an apartment, if you're sharing with 3 other students, you'd expect to pay about 300, 400 euro a month, which is, I think, what many students pay in a week, I guess, in London. So sort of you get the idea. It's a very diverse campus, even though we're quite small. Currently, we have 58 nationalities from across the six continents, represented across our student body. And we have a mix of students who come to us from like high school to people who have done their first degree. So there's like a healthy mix between the both. As a country, even though we're small, I think it's so that people maybe get an idea if they haven't really thought about Gozo and Malta. You can cross Gozo from one end to the other in about 20 to 25 minutes by car. So we're talking like that small. But I think we still have quite a lot to offer, and as Ben said, apart from the good food, yes. For example, we're one of Europe's top diving destinations. So we have many students who have either dived before or have taken up diving while they're here. Water sports is obviously a huge hit as well. As Ben said, here we're still in summer clothes. It's still pretty warm. People swim all year round here. Apart from that, if you're interested in culture, we do have a lot of heritage sites. So if you look at the third picture on the right, that's Gigantia Temples. It's a megalithic temple. It's the oldest freestanding structure in the world, and it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. But there are also many, it's as a country, we're very cultural. I think suffice it to say, you have 2 opera houses in Gozo. So there's always like concerts going on during the summer. There are the village fees, so sort of there is always something going on. If you're interested in sports, I mean, you can hike and run. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but in 5 minutes you can be in nature. So from Victoria, from this like the town, you're in nature, and you can be walking in nature. Gozo's nightlife is also good, but many of the students just cross the ferry over to Malta and go to Malta for a night out in Pacheville, where the bars and pubs are, if they want something more sort of buzzing. And what we've done as well to help students integrate more is the student and staff discount scheme. We've even launched an app last year for it. So we've got vendors from across the islands, and students get discounts from these vendors, and these range from restaurants to gyms to spas, hotels, diving centers, you name it. And like the discounts range from 5 to 50%. So it's sort of a way of integrating the students as well to the community. Something about student society. So BLSA Malta is a student union here at Queen Mary Malta, and they sort of ensure that every student has a good student experience. They organize events, they voice student concerns, sort of ensure inclusivity within the campus as well. And then we have a whole range of societies. This is just some of them. We have over 32 societies now. The number is growing every year, which is very encouraging for us to see. And sort of there's a range of educational societies, cultural. I think there's something for everyone. And if there's a society which you want to set up, it's pretty easy as well. So it's also another way of making friends and sort of winding down as well. And now I'm going to hand it over to Chanel. She's going to talk about the application process and our entry requirements as well.
Chanel, I don't think your sound's working, actually. And everyone else? You're not on mute, but I don't know whether there's a problem with the microphone.
No.
We can hear you now, but it's
Yes.
not through. There we go. There we go. We've got you.
Yes. Sorry, I think my USB wasn't plugged in properly. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Elaine. So down to how to apply for our program. So we accept a range of qualifications worldwide, but our main qualifications that we receive are A-levels, IB, and the CBSE or ISC. which I'll be going through in the next few moments. So all students will need to sit the UCAT exam and score within the 3rd decile or above. This year, the cutoff score is 2360, and this is announced by UCAT every year. So depending on the year of entry, you would need to check with UCAT what the cutoff is for that particular year. If you haven't already sat the UCAT this summer, we are accepting UCAT score sheets in the next available sitting, which will be next summer. In addition to the UCAT, all students must be 18 at the start of the course. So by maximum September, October, students will need to be 18. You will not be able to enroll before turning 18, and turning 18 following those months will typically means that you would miss too much of the course. So it is important to keep that in mind. We also look at the English language. There's a whole range of English qualifications that we do accept, but the most popular ones that we receive are GCSE English and also IELTS. So for GCSE English, we require a minimum of 5 in the English language, and for IELTS, we require a minimum of 7.0 overall taken within the 2 years. So for A levels, we look at 3 A levels at AAA. You must take biology or chemistry, a second science subject, and any other subject apart from critical thinking and general studies. Moving over to IB, we require 37 points overall with 665 in higher level subjects. And again, we require biology or chemistry and a second science subject as well. And then for the CBSE or ISC, we look for 85% in standard 12, which includes 85% in both biology and chemistry. And then we also look at standard 10 score sheets where we require an 80% in biology, chemistry, English, and math. So applications have already opened since the 3rd of September. The first application deadline is the 28th of February. We encourage applicants to apply as early as possible as competition is high. So I hope that you reach out to Ben right after this webinar to get your applications in to make sure that you secure your spot. So we don't form a part of UCAS. We encourage you to reach out to Ben so that he can submit your application on your behalf. With your application, we ask for a personal statement, a reference letter, a UCAT score sheet if you have already sat the UCAT, and your academic transcripts today, and as well as predicted grades if you haven't already received the grades required. So once you meet the minimum entry requirements, we then invite you over to an interview, which will be held online via Zoom with 2 of our academics or clinician staff. You will be sent an ethical scenario beforehand so that you read and prepare for the interview, as you'll be asked questions about the ethical scenario, as well as other general competency questions. So for anyone that is applying this year for next year's entry in September, the annual fees are 37,500 euros for all students, regardless of nationality, whether you're from the UK, EU, or other countries. So after graduation, successful students are awarded Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Surgery, MBBS from Queen Mary University of London. So it's the same degree as our London colleagues. And once you graduate, you're ready to practice as foundation year doctors. So we have these foundation year doctor positions available in Malta and also the UK. And we start preparing students for their UK FPO application from their 4th year. There has been students that would that would have go on to their own home countries as well, but we just ask that students see that the degree is accepted in that country of their choice that they wish to practice in, and that you have the right to live and obviously work in that country. So further information can be found on our main website, which is qmul.ac.uk/Malta. It will contain information about the program, entry requirements in detail in case you're not an IB A-level or CBSE student. We also have put together a content hub about student life, location, and learning, and that could be accessed at studymedicinemalta.com. And then we also have an online interactive perspective, which can be accessed at joom.ag/5WBD. Just gonna send it back to Elaine now.
And because I know that I've seen many questions already about this, Ben, what I forgot to mention is that all our students so far have gone on to work successfully with the NHS. So the 3 cohorts have done their FY positions in the UK.
Yeah. We'll talk a bit about that in a moment because there are some questions there that I think are very generic, and we'll cover some of those basic things and then get into more of the detail where specifics are required. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly show people the easiest way to make the application. It takes no more than 10 minutes. And as Chanel has said, if you do that through Medical Doorway, it also means you get Medical Doorway's full support as well. And our service is free. We're funded by the university. So you get an extra pair of ears, someone else to send a WhatsApp to or drop an email to. If you've got a question, perhaps, that you don't particularly want to ask the university, it's amazing how many students would rather ask the question to us here because they feel they're in a much more kind of like safer environment because they're not dealing with the university. But honestly, Elaine, Chanel, they're not going to judge you guys. If you've got questions, get in touch with the university. They're a really friendly team over in Malta. But anyway, I'm going to share my screen very quickly now. So for those of you that want to know how to apply, it really takes no more than 10 minutes. If you go to medicaldoorway.com, you'll find the homepage. This will go through an update in February. We've got a brand new website coming online, but it's going to look largely the same in terms of its usability. 2 ways of doing it. Number one is you can actually go to universities, and you'll see there, Queen Mary University of London, Malta. That's one way to do it. You can click on here, and then you will see there's a blue button there, University Application Form. You can click that button there. And then all you will need to do is fill this form in, put all your details on here, indicate if you did or didn't take the UCAT in 2024, okay? And then upload a copy of your certificates for your GCSEs if you've got them, or current school transcript, personal statement here. Now, one thing about personal statements is you can use your UCAS personal statement, upload it as a PDF, but this is an opportunity to make it a bit more specific to the program at Malta. So why not have a paragraph about studying in Malta, about the country, or about the university specifically? Because it's not a UCAS application, okay? And then upload a copy of your UCAT results sheet there as well. That then gives us everything so we can do the application. One thing that students do often miss out, and it is critically important, is the name of a referee at your school. So do include the name of your college counsellor or your head of sixth form or one of the teachers, or if you're a student at university, your personal tutor or supervisor. Pop that in there, pop their email address in there. We will need that information. If you fill in this form correctly, it takes no more than 10 minutes. It means we can process the application extremely quickly as well, and also means that we haven't got to come back to you for additional documents. The other quick way to apply via the Medical Doorway website as well is you'll see a little blue tab on the left-hand side there, Apply Now. You can click on that and then find Queen Mary University of London's button there, and it takes you to the exact same page. Very straightforward. It takes no more than 10 minutes, completely free. And then we can start even then talking about the different aspects of your application. Or if there's any queries, we can go back to the university and have a conversation with the university as well. The idea is to be supportive of your whole application and then determine if you're then going to be on the pathway to shortlisting. Okay, so I think it's time that we get stuck into these questions now, because they are flooding in at the moment. There's been, since the end of the presentation, we've had another 20 odd questions. Okay. So let's go through these questions now. What I'm going to say for those people that have typed in questions is we're not going to, as I've said before, we're not going to identify you. We are going to do this anonymously. There are some questions where there are repetition. So please be alert that we might not go through every single questions, okay? All right, on here, okay? Right, let's take the first question. Okay, now we did deal with this question in the presentation, but I think it's worth repeating. After completing the medicine degree, can one work as a doctor in both countries, Malta or the UK? Now, first thing I want to remind everyone, because this relates to some of the questions that have been asked later about GMC registration, is this is a British medical degree. It is directly regulated by the General Medical Council. Okay, that's the first thing to say. So the GMC do visit the campus. Don't think it takes much effort for someone from Britain to come and visit the campus in Malta. I think it's a good excuse to come and visit the campus in Malta if you're from the GMC stuck in windy Manchester. They come and visit the campus, okay? They assess the program. They speak to students because part of that GMC process is speaking to students and finding out about the student experience. The other thing is that when you graduate, you get a degree certificate and a transcript, which is exactly the same as if it was from the campus in London, okay? So you will have that opportunity. You will be getting a British degree. So yes, the qualification is directly recognised by the GMC. Perhaps, Elaine, Chanel, you can tell us about how the programme is also regulated in Malta as well and give us a little bit more information about that.
So our program is regulated by what we call the MHFEA, the Malta Higher and Further Education Authority. So it's regulated by both GMC and the MHFEA. As we said, you can opt to work in, in a range of countries, but we mostly get asked about the UK and Malta. So with the UK, as Chanel said, we do start preparing our students for their application from their 4th year. With regards to Malta, what you need to have is medical Maltese, so you pass the test. It's something that we as a university offer. It's not mandatory for our students, but we do encourage students to take it. After all, you'll be here for 5 years. The first 2 years, you're learning basic Maltese, like how are you, and the numbers, and so it's very basic. And then you can apply for it to do your foundation year program in Malta as well.
Perfect. Okay. And I think a lot of people will, once they've spent a few years in Malta, will see the benefit, okay, of being in Malta as opposed to London. Even I saw that just after the week and a half, but we were there across the islands. Okay. Right. So let's go back to this question here. Someone's asked a few things. Now, we're going to talk about deadlines. Okay. Now, this is my pet peeve. I'm sorry to say this, everyone, to you students, because the one question never to ask is what is the deadline to apply to this university? Because that means only one thing. It means you're going to apply at the very last minute. Never a good idea. Oh, applications are open now. That's the first thing to say. Strong advice is apply early. Okay? There's nothing, if you've applied through UCAS, there's nothing you don't have that is not extra that is needed for this application. Yes, you can apply later. But we were talking before the webinar started that application numbers specifically for this year are significantly up already on where we were at this point last year. The university will remain open for as long as they need. There are some specific deadlines that are advisable. However, once the total number of applications and offers that have been made that the university feels is the right number, applications will then start to close. And too late will be the cry when the man with the application button passes by. Okay, so please do apply now if you're ready to apply now. If you want to wait for a week or two, perhaps the beginning of January, fine. My advice is get it in before February so we can get you shortlisted for interview and you know what you've got to aim for. Okay?
If I can add something, Ben, maybe.
Go ahead,
So, as you've said, our applications are already open. What maybe people didn't, because this is different than UCAS. So our offers are issued on a rolling basis. So the people who have applied now will start being interviewed in December. We do commit that we will give you an answer within 2 weeks of the interview. So within 2 weeks of these people being interviewed in December, we would have already started issuing offers. And then our first application deadline is the 28th of February. And we'll, as you said, then we'll open for late applications and we'll stay open as long as necessary.
Okay.
But we do receive a lot of phone calls after we close. Are you going to be open for clearing? Or it's like...
Strong advice, honestly, is don't wait to clearing. Okay, and bear in mind, we've talked about entry requirements already, and they're not that dissimilar than the UK. Yes, the UCAT score may be a little bit more achievable, but from a grades perspective, you're still needing 37 points on the IB, AAA, so you are needing roughly the same grades that you are going to be looking if you're also applying for the UK. And I do want to talk about fees. I think why we're here. The fees are the same for everyone. There is no home versus international split. Now, this means two things. For you international students, it means you're not a small amount of students on top of all those domestic students in the UK. Yeah, so you're not like a bolt on top. Everyone is treated equally. It also means that you're saving a lot of money in terms of tuition fees with studying the same program in London, as well as obviously saving significant money in terms of living costs as well. The counterside for that for British students or those who would be subsidised through the Higher Education Funding Council of England is there is no student loan available. Everyone pays €37,500, everyone, irrespective of your nationality, irrespective of your country of residence, irrespective of what your fee status would be in the UK. Okay, we've talked about how to apply. Again, this is outside of UCAS, everyone. For those people asking about applying via UCAS, or if you've applied through Queen Mary's London campus through UCAS, it doesn't matter. It's completely separate for the actual application. Okay. Now, there are some questions for Pearl, and I do want to get Pearl involved now because she's been sitting there so patiently when she could be doing something significantly more interesting with her evening in Malta. Okay, there was one question I liked, Pearl. What's the one thing? There was a really cool question. I liked it before. That was it. What was the one thing you'd wished you knew before moving to Malta to study medicine? Best question I've seen in a long time. So please, Pearl.
Wow. What's the one thing I knew?
Well, what's the one thing you know? Before you went to Malta, what's the one thing you think is the critical thing before you headed to Malta?
I think one thing I was really nervous about before I got here was the people and whether I'd have enough support because it's my first time living alone. I'm an undergrad student. So it was very daunting for me to like move abroad all the way from India to a place like this. And so I was really scared about how the people would treat me and whether I'd have enough support. So, but honestly, I've had such an amazing experience here. I feel like I wasn't expecting people to be this friendly and this supportive. So hopefully, like that's one thing I would like tell even other prospective students that are willing to join, that they don't have to worry about things like that. Like once you're here, you're good because it's such a close-knit community. There's such a sense of family here. And I don't just mean peers, I mean even like the tutors and with SAPs and all the support we have. I think that's one thing I should have known. It would have definitely eased my anxiety.
Where was home for you, Pearl, before you went to Malta?
India, actually. That's where I grew up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I imagine knowing South Asia myself very well and Malta as well, it's a big change going from India, isn't it, to somewhere like Malta.
It is a big change. But the thing about the university is that there's so many international students. So I don't feel like I'm from a minority group or anything, because everyone here is an international student. And we also have like societies for different communities. It's very culturally diverse and everyone's really accepting as well. So like for me, we've got a South Asian society going on. So I still get to celebrate the festivals I celebrate back home. So there's still a sense of family. Like I'm still connected to my roots while I'm still gaining the experience of being in Malta.
Well, great you said that, because actually one question I'm just looking at now is about the mix of students. So in your class, second year, what is the diversity like? Okay, so
everywhere, honestly, you name it. We've got Europeans, we've got people from the UK, of course. We've got a lot of South Asians, a lot of Asians in general. We've got people from Africa. It's so diverse, honestly. I've never met such a diverse group of people, but everyone's really accepting. There's no disparity as such.
Yeah, and I know that myself from the applications we've dealt with. Bear in mind, we've been having students apply to Malta since the course started. So that's 8 years worth of graduates now. So 8 years we've been at Medical Doorway working with the program in Malta. So it's been a fantastic journey to go on. Okay, so let's carry on. Let's go to an academic thing. I think perhaps Elaine or Chanel might be able to dig into this one. What about the exams during the year? So when do the exams happen in each academic year? And I know we've talked about OSCEs and things, but if you can give us a little bit more about the assessment strategy of the university.
So as I said, you're taught via modules. So your written exams are at the end of the year. You do have formative assessments during the year so that you get an idea on sort of where you are and how you are doing. And it also gives our academics a chance to see whether you need to improve something. And they do have meetings after each exam to talk to our students and see where they need to improve. So there are 5 papers in total. Usually it's 2 written papers. The OSCEs, which is the practical exam. Then there's like written assessments during the year, and the other paper is for SSCs. So there's a mix of exams and sort of assessment during the year as well. What I also need to say is that as every British school this year, our 5th-year students are doing the MLA as part of their end-of-year exam. And what that means essentially is that you don't need to do any extra exams if you're applying for the UKFP and doing your FY years in the UK.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Let's carry on and see where we are now. Someone's asked about the year 5. Well, year 5 is part of the degree, so you would do that as part of the university, just like you would in the UK. So year 5 is the final year of the degree. The FY1 year, if that's what you're referring to, from my experience, that nearly all students have gone to the UK, to the NHS, through their FY.
All of them, so 100%.
100%, yeah. So as I said, some people asked about that transition to the NHS. It has been 100% every single year. And for those of you that are in the UK like I am, when you've last gone into a hospital, you'll see why it's 100%. There are hospitals desperately seeking graduates from British degrees, especially the programme in Malta. Okay?
And if I may ask something, Ben, I'm sorry. As I've said in the beginning, our healthcare system is very similar to that of the UK. So what our graduates have found is that they have found no problem at all transferring from like the Maltese system to the healthcare system in the UK, because it's like the system is the same. Like, for example, one thing they said, Malta is more paper-based and the system in the UK is more electronic, but that's a small difference, if I might say so.
Yeah. Okay, all right. A little bit about, there was another question for Pearl that I'll come back to in a moment, Pearl, if that's okay. But I want to get a little bit of housekeeping out the way, okay? So people have asked about references. Yes, a reference is required. What will happen is if you just give us the name and email address of the referee, that will generate an email to your referee, and they can complete the reference through the link they have. If they have provided you with a reference on headed paper, signed, if it's from the school, not a problem. We can submit that directly with the application as well, which will bypass, in most cases, the need for that email to be sent, okay? If you are a private candidate, you've done A-levels privately, you will need to get perhaps another type of reference. How does the university deal, Elaine or Chanel, with perhaps who've done A-levels privately, who perhaps might not have predicted grades? I know it's very few candidates, but we do get 1 or 2 that are private. They might get a character reference, but not necessarily a reference with predicted grades on. How would we address that potential issue, or would that be on a case-by-case basis?
It's usually on a case-by-case basis. Also, if you don't have let's say you've studied privately, you can always get a character reference. For example, if you have done job shadowing experience, you can get a character reference by them. But if you study privately, then you can always speak to Ben and we'll discuss accordingly. We
listen, I know there are some questions about specifics. Every single year, we do get a few things that come along which are new. So if your high school education isn't necessarily on the list that's there, we will, take your transcripts, we'll share it with the team. If they have to consult with the academics who are in charge of the admissions procedures, we will get it shared, but we will come back to you with an answer, okay? It's best asking the question, and also ask the question early. If you're in perhaps an education system which is blended, sometimes we get people who, for example, do American diplomas without APs, but use IB courses for APs instead, those kinds of things. Just get in touch with us. We'll ask for your documentation and we will get it assessed before we even go down the route of making the application. Okay, it's very two-way like that. This is not about, penalizing you not for having a standard education system, because everyone is different and everyone has a different journey. Okay. Something about offers. Yes, offers are conditional if you're still in your final year of school, or if your UCAT score has not achieved it. And I want to reiterate the point that Chanel said earlier on. One of the fantastic opportunities here is if perhaps your UCAT day didn't go that well, there is the opportunity to retake UCAT in 2025. There is a particular date you need to take it by, though. You can't just take it at the last minute in September, okay? Where you can take it again, and if you achieve that score, then your offer will then be made. So you can get an offer conditional on UCAT. Perhaps you're a gap year student who got 3 A's and didn't quite make UCAT in that year. That gives you another opportunity then to apply for the program and retake your UCAT, okay? Right, let's take a look at it. I want to get Pearl into something else here, okay, because there were some fantastic questions, but we've had that many coming in. Oh yeah, Pearl, yeah, how big is your particular year group actually? So, and then we'll talk about more general. How big is your year group?
My year groups, I'm in year 2. We have about 50 to 55 students. I like the number, honestly. I know everyone in my year on a first name basis. I'm good friends with everyone. Even the tutors know us all quite personally. So we get individualized attention as well. So I think it's a good number, 50 to 55.
Yeah, and as I said, that will mean that the student to staff ratio is enviable, yeah, compared to many other medical schools, not just across Britain, but across the world, actually. And that's, again, one of the things which is a big standout for the programme in Malta as well, okay? Right, let's take a look at some of those. Go back to the top. We do have a lot. Someone's asked about visas. We'll talk about visas and migration now, I think. Someone's talked about, I'm in a visa in the UK. Can I attend the medical school in Malta? Well, Malta is a separate sovereign country, okay? It's a separate sovereign country that issues its own national visas. For those of you, and I think Pearl, I think I'm going to leverage you again for this here. Malta is a member of the Schengen zone, the Schengen area. For those people that don't know what the Schengen area is, because there's some people that won't know, it's the passport-free area within Europe where there are no standard border checks, immigration checks between a border. So Pearl, you're perhaps from India, you've got an Indian passport, yeah? You've now got a residency card for Malta. Yeah. That means effectively you can fly from Malta to Paris, to the Netherlands, to Belgium, to Italy. You could even take the boat to Sicily as well if you wish to, yeah? See my old... Okay. And then you can actually then travel around the Schengen area without a visa. Yeah. Have you yet done that?
I actually have a trip planned in December to Greece with my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a short flight, honestly. And also, like I said, I know so many people from everywhere because of my year group being so diverse culturally. So my roommate lives in Greece, so I have like free accommodation as well. So I'm really looking forward to my trip to Greece. And I don't have to worry about my visa or anything. I'm just waiting for my residency card to be renewed. And I'm good to go.
And that one thing you wouldn't have if you'd studied the degree in Britain. Because if it's a degree in Britain, you're on a British visa, and if you wanted to go see the Christmas markets in Vienna, or you would then need to get a separate visa for that. And I flew from Vienna to Malta, really direct flight, very easy. And in your particular case, you'd be able to go and see the Christmas markets wherever you wanted, but it is cold. Okay, right. I'm just going to flick through some of the questions that we've already addressed because there is some repetition there. Okay. For those people that are asking about under 18s, okay, there is the possibility that you could start the course a week or so later, but for people that are saying they're not going to be 18 until December, that's not going to work because you would just simply miss too much of the course. My advice is take a gap year, use that year constructively, perhaps visit the campus, and then enroll once you've passed the 8 years of 18, okay? For all those people asking about documents like GCSEs, UCAT, score sheets, you submit them on the medical doorway application form. As we've already showed you, it takes no more than 10 minutes, okay? And usually the intake is about 50 to 55 or 60, isn't it, Elaine? Something like that.
Between 60 to 70 students per year. So 70 students would be the absolute maximum.
Okay, all right. Right, interviews are starting in December. People have asked that. Now, I know you're going to join us, and this is for those of you that have tuned in from the Middle East. You're going to be joining us for our open days on the 9th of November in Dubai, and on the 30th of November in London at the Royal Society of Medicine. For those of you that are in the Middle East or in London or Europe that want to meet the university face-to-face, you can book free tickets on our website for the event in Dubai on the 9th of November or the 30th of November in London. But someone's asked about recognition in the UAE, okay? So have you had any UAE-based students who've gone back to the UAE yet?
So our students have all, as I said, they've all gone to work to the UK. I think because we're a British university, many of our students sort of want to have that experience in the NHS once they graduate, and then after doing their FY years, they can sort of see where they want to branch out.
Yeah. One thing I'm going to mention about that, and this is dealing with places like the UAE, Hong Kong, or Singapore, for example, is that a lot of the time hospitals are looking for doctors who've already developed some clinical skills and had clinical experience, okay? Somewhere like the UK has got fantastic training for junior doctors, all right? That's one of the reasons why a lot of people want to work in the UK, because they can benefit from that higher end training as junior doctors before they go to, say, the UAE, Qatar, etc. The other thing as well is having that UK license means there's an easier pathway to places like Australia or New Zealand, etc., if you want to go and work there as well. Okay. Right. Let's have a look. There's some questions about specific requirements like the British Columbia diploma. What I would say is get in touch with Medical Doorway, send us your documents. We will then get them screened by the university and then start the application should you be eligible. Okay. And then what are the documents such as references? What about work experience? I know this will form a big part of the personal statement, but how about the interview? Because it's a panel-based interview. What role will things like shadowing, work experience play in the interview procedure?
So the personal statement is not used for assessment of the candidate as such. The personal statement is used to sort of back the interview and sort of to have a discussion around it as well. So I know that the interviewers will ask you what job shadowing you've done based on your personal statement. And I think one of the most important things that potential students need to know is that we're not interested exactly in what you've done, but what you've learned from that work experience and what you've taken away from that particular experience. So I think that's one important tip to remember for your interviews and for your personal statement.
Perfect. Yeah. I'm just seeing if there's any more similar questions to that. Okay. So what we look for in successful candidates. Okay. Someone's asked about the fees. Now, 37,500 euros is the tuition fee. Living costs are on top, which are significantly lower than if you were in the UK. All right. That's one thing I will definitely say about that, and I've seen that for myself. Let me just go through a few other of the questions. Okay. Because there's a lot of questions still to answer, but yeah, people are asking about transfers. Now, transferring from a non-British program into a British program generally doesn't happen, to be honest, and you wouldn't fulfill the requirements that the university has. So if you're at another European university and you want to transfer, unfortunately, the program in Malta is not going to be right for you because of the way that the curriculum works and the accreditation works. Okay.
May I also add, Ben, sorry, that unfortunately, we do not accept people who have started medical courses elsewhere, even if they were to apply for the first year.
Okay. Right. Pearl, another question for you. And this is a really good one. I like these questions. Okay. What drew you specifically to the program in Malta? Let's say, for example, you had the option of doing this program in London, this program in Malta. Okay, I know what I'd choose. Okay, the slightly olive skin and dark hair kind of gives it away. But what drew you specifically to the program in Malta?
Honestly, there's a lot of reasons actually. One of the reasons I chose this university in particular is I think the importance they give to students and students' opinions, and just the fact that and this is stuff I've actually heard from students before, even before I joined, things I read online on student forums. People always talked about how much attention students are given. I think it's also because of the student to staff ratio, but and even I think the way SAPS functions. I feel like the university genuinely cares about what a student is going through and like what kind of help a student needs to support. So that was the reason this university in particular. But the reason I would choose Malta over London, there's quite a few. One would definitely be the cost of living, I would say, because I know as an international student, especially living in the UK can be quite incredibly expensive, actually. So living in Malta, really cuts down my prices, especially for living, rent, all of it, honestly, even tuition. And also the fact that everyone would be paying the same, that kind of just, I don't know, it feels like I'm an equal among my peer group as well.
Mm.
And of course, always the spiral curriculum and the PBL sessions that we have, it's all very unique to the university. It's an amazing way to learn as well. And just the international exposure, or even small things like the weather here, honestly. The food, the weather, the culture, and it's a very happening place as well. You're never bored.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think one thing is safety as well. Safety is in
that's
Malta
true.
is not a concern. You can walk around any time at night. You know, it's a very safe community, especially Gozo. But you can take the ferry to St. Julian's
Yeah.
if you want to have a night out. And Malta's got a very, very diverse nightlife on the main island, especially in places like St. Julian's or Valletta. You can take the fast ferry over and be there in like 40 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are all those opportunities, and that gives you that kind of the best of both worlds, I believe, anyway, having seen it for myself. Right, we are at 1 hour, so we are going to fire through a few more of the questions, and we're going to let the ladies go because they've spent a lot of their evening here with us now on this webinar. Okay. For those that are about the interview, it's a panel-based interview, not MMI, and you will be given this ethical article to read beforehand, and will be questioned on that amongst other things. Okay. Okay, visas. Okay, now firstly, I'll answer the question from the questions here, then I'm going to refer back to everyone about visas, because this migration is always an important thing. Do British-born British citizens need a visa for Malta? Well, yeah, we're not in the European Union anymore, because some people thought that was yeah. But
So you don't need a visa.
yeah, but you need a residence permit.
Everybody needs a residence permit.
Yeah. So you can travel as a Brit, you can travel to Malta visa-free, and you will apply for your residency permit after you've arrived, because you can only stay there 90 days in any 180-day period visa-free. But in your particular case, Pearl, you did need a visa, didn't you? Okay. So if you can talk a little bit about how the university supports, say, students who need a visa to travel to the Schengen area, get that visa. But yeah, Brits, I'm afraid we don't have freedom of movement anymore, so you do need the residency permit.
If I may, even if you're in the EU, you still need a residency permit, and the university totally supports students with that. So wherever you're from, you need to apply for residency permit, which is just a bureaucratic process at the end. I don't know, an advantage of studying here is that people, for example, from Hong Kong, from Singapore, they don't need a visa either. From Canada, you don't need a visa. So
yeah.
there are many countries which are visa exempt, and you can just come here and then apply for residency. But then there are people like Pearl, and then we support them with their application process throughout.
Okay. Absolutely.
Go ahead.
So for me, because I hold an Indian passport, I did have to apply for a visa. But honestly, it was a long process, but it was quite a straightforward process in terms of because the university had already told me everything I needed, and even on the website, it was quite clear cut what I would need. So it was more just about submitting my documents and waiting for my visa to arrive. And then once I was here, there we have an amazing student experience manager who literally sends us out an email with step-by-step process of how to apply for a residence card. And it's quite easy to do. Once you have all your documents, you upload it online, and you're pretty much done.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that's, and again, like I said, the benefit is once you've got your permit, you can travel around the Schengen in your summer period or your vacation periods or Christmas.
Yeah.
And well, okay, right. I don't want to keep. We'll go through a few more questions. We'll go for another 10 minutes if that's okay with everyone. Okay, we have run over a bit. Okay. There was a question. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, the UCAT score 2360. It is a cutoff, isn't it? It's not used to rank students like it would be in many UK universities. I'm correct in saying that, Elaine? Yes.
That's right. So I believe Chanel mentioned this, but just in case, we do not rank students. So if you meet our entry requirements, you're invited to an interview, and then we make offers based on the interview score that you get.
Yeah, perfect. We have more questions coming in about the age 18. Some people are asking December, November, October. My advice is just get in touch with us or put the application on the Medical Doorway website. If there is an ambiguity, if you're 18, like beginning of October, you know, there might be some opportunity. If you're born 18 in November, December, it's not going to happen for this year. You have to wait for that 1 year. But if you are born kind of 18 October, please just get in touch with us and we'll then make sure that you're able to actually apply or not. Okay? Now, the one thing that has been a question then, I think it's important to say, is accepting the offer. This is an important thing because obviously it's not through UCAS. You accept direct and you have to pay a deposit, which is deducted from the tuition fees. If you can just talk through that process of accepting the offer before enrollment, I think that's going to really help everyone make their minds up about applying.
Okay, so the offer deadline, because I've seen questions about that, it depends on when you apply. So for those who apply before the 28th of February and they get issued offers, you have until, I believe this year is the 30th of March to make your mind up and pay the deposit. After that, you have 2 weeks so after that date, you have anybody who gets issued an offer after that gets 2 weeks. And then if we're open, say late in August or July, you get a day. So it depends on when you apply. As Ben said, once you accept the offer, you need to pay a deposit. And then we'll start sort of on your next steps and sort of lead you all the way to enrollment and coming here.
Okay, right. I'm just deleting some of the questions that we've addressed. Okay. Student accommodation. I'm going to come back to Pearl about this now because obviously all the students rent private apartments across the island at the moment, and there are many landlords who want students to rent from them. Pearl, was it easy for you to find a place to live? Because from what I've seen, everyone seems to live very close to the university in Victoria.
Yes, absolutely. The best part about living in Victoria is that everything is at walking distance, the university, the hospital. I can really go grocery shopping whenever I want because everything's so nearby. Well, I live with 2 roommates. It's honestly been a good experience for me. Finding a house online wasn't too hard. I just got in touch with a few agents and then they helped me out. There's a lot of opportunity here, honestly, when it comes to living conditions. Like you can, I know people that live alone. I know people that live with 2 to 4 roommates. I personally live with 2 roommates. It's a good dynamic. I haven't faced any trouble with landlords or finding housing in any way.
And the one thing I want to say, people talk about support as well at the university. You are in the Mediterranean, you're in Gozo. The community is extremely supportive generally. It's that Mediterranean culture. It's not in London in the middle of winter where everyone's going to grimace at you. Okay, you're in Malta. You're surrounded by fantastic nature. I just want to say for those people, when I was in Gozo just a few weeks ago and I took the car around, you can drive to the edges and the sea is crystal clear blue. You get a myriad of aquamarine colors in the sea around. It's definitely a feel-good place. The cities like the Citadel, Victoria itself are beautiful locations in terms of towns, but the coastline is to die for. You can go to the Blue Lagoon over in Camino if you want that, but there are so many other hidden places in Gozo, which I had the opportunity to be shown around by Elaine and Chanel when we were just there a few weeks ago. Okay, I know people have asked a lot of other questions. But we're not going to get the chance to address everything, okay? But I'm going to go to Pearl on this one before we start tidying up, okay? Pearl, your second year now.
Yes.
Being in Malta has obviously changed you. Studying medicine abroad, especially in Malta, is going to change you. What's your trajectory? What's your plan? Where are you now thinking? After you finish your 5 years, what's your strategy moving forward for your career?
Absolutely. So I think one thing I definitely love about this degree is that it is a UK degree, and that also means it's accepted in a lot of places all over the world. So my plan personally is to do my foundation years in the UK, gain some experience in the NHS, because that also looks very good in your CVs and portfolios. And then maybe apply to a couple of places back home, maybe in Australia. I have a lot of mixed plans, honestly, but my options are open because it's not a very hard process when you hold a degree this strong. So
yeah, as I said, it's giving you that UK license, and that UK license is definitely geared to work in the UK. What I like to say is it's a British degree with better food and better weather. Okay, you can tell it's nearly dinner time here in the UK because I'm talking about food non-stop. Okay. Okay. And talking about food, Pearl, how have you found the Maltese food? Have you kind of like developed a penchant for pastizzi yet?
Oh yeah, pastizzi 100%. It's like my favorite snack of all time now. I'm surprised it isn't like it doesn't exist all over the world. Like it's such a treat and it's so cheap as well.
Yeah, I think I call it the Maltese samosa because of the shape, really.
It really is the Maltese samosa, yeah.
Okay, right. I'm going to take a quick look now if there are any questions that we haven't dealt with. Things like the personal statement. Yeah, guys, I would say don't make your personal statements like War and Peace. It can be a UCAS personal statement with a bit added to it, okay? No one's going to read a 2,000-word personal statement. If you can keep them to less than 500 words, it is preferable, I believe, just in terms of maintaining people's... But Elaine...
I think 1 page is usually sort of a good guide, no?
Yeah. Remember, it's got to be impactful. If it's full of waffle and padding, it's going to take away from the messages that you want to go. Sometimes less is always more, okay? Interviews are going to be starting in December this year, okay? So please, if you are looking at applying and want to get an offer early, apply now at the Medical Doorway website and we can start that process for you, okay? Again, if you've got any queries at all about your age, those kinds of things, please do get in touch with us at medicaldoorway.com. If there's any queries, we can always circulate to the university if we can't address your question. But 9 times out of 10, the team here at Medical Doorway HQ can actually deal with your questions. Okay? Right. Most of the questions that we've addressed or are being asked have already been addressed. Some of the other ones are best taken offline. So if your question hasn't been addressed, please just drop an email to hello@Medical Doorway or fill in the inquiry form on the Medical Doorway website. I want to now say a huge thank you to Elaine and Chanel from the University Admissions Office. If you want to meet Elaine and Chanel in person, as I've already said, 9th of November in Dubai, 30th of November in London, you'll be able to meet both of them, get all the material, speak with them, and start the applications through Medical Doorway. But obviously, I'm going to say a huge thank you to Pearl. Pearl, having you here was fantastic. I think the students got a lot, and the parents who have been online got a lot from listening to you, seeing your smiling face and about how happy you are in Malta, just looking at how healthy everyone looks there compared to me wrapped up here in cold, windy Britain. But what I would like to say is a huge thank you to you, Pearl, for giving up your time. You're busy enough as it is, and we know you've got lessons tomorrow as well. If you've got any questions at all, anyone, you can get in touch with the Medical Doorway team. Our support, as it said, is fully free of charge, and our application service is free as well. If you do want to come and meet the universities, book the tickets for the events. Admission is by ticket only, and that's free as well. But until next time, thank you. Thank you to the team over in Malta, and thank you to everyone who's joined us tonight. We had a huge turnout tonight, actually, which I'm really impressed with. Thank you for everything, and until next time, we wish you the best. Good evening, good afternoon, good night.